yeah. Kingdom citizen of Wisconsin. Kingdom citizen, yeah. Kingdom citizen.
Blessings, 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 everyone. God bless each and every one of you. Hope you're doing well. Well, it is that time, you guys. This is the first show of the year with the Constitutional Queen, the Mary and Martha Constitution. And I know that I don't know who's who, but the other one will be with us in a minute. So let's bring on the other half of the Mary and Martha of Constitution.
Hello. Happy New Year.
I know. Happy New Year, our first show of the year. Let me get something out of the way before we go into having fun. Okay. So, where is it? Okay. Think About It Tuesday. This Think About It Tuesday is a health show. Woo. And we have with us at 11 o'clock Tuesday morning, we have Dr. J, a holistic doctor who's going to be on the show talking about health, talking about you guys eating healthy and doing what it takes to be healthy so we can run around and do everything that God wants us to do. And so you guys, this Tuesday, 11 a.m., we're going to be on with Dr. J out of Green Bay, Wisconsin, and I'm excited for him being with us on the show. So y'all tune in this Tuesday morning, 11 o'clock. The doctor will be in the house. Woo. So I'm excited. Oh, the other half of Mary and Martha is here. Let's bring her on.
We still haven't figured out which one's Mary and which one's Martha, but that's okay.
I know.
I wanted to be Abigail.
That's right.
Abigail?
Yes, Abigail Adams.
Actually, what is it? Mercy Otis Warren?
There you go.
That's who I want to be.
I'll be Abigail Adams then.
Okay.
All right. All these identity crises we having.
Right?
Yep.
Have to make it difficult on you.
I know.
So just go by our last names, Warren and Adams.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know my last name right now.
I thought that's what you go by. You know.
Well, I did it until I did something that I shouldn't done, and
what'd you did?
And how should I say? Sarah won't let me live it down.
What did I do? Oh, yeah, on Friday. Yeah, I'm gonna hold him accountable for that. I wished his wife a happy anniversary and my sympathies because he scheduled the Kingdom Citizens of Wisconsin call for Friday and they were gone for their anniversary.
Yeah, so
yep.
But it's her fault.
Why is it my fault?
Hey, I gotta blame somebody for this one.
Oh, playing the victim card.
Do you have a calendar that you actually use, David?
Say that again.
Do you have a calendar or a planner that you use?
I do and I don't.
Well,
I do use it.
Thing.
No, I do use it. The mix-up was we scheduled it for Thursday without looking at the date. Y'all know how we do it. We just say Thursday, Friday. So we scheduled it, but I didn't look at the date.
Yeah.
And so
And
while
in your defense, I will give you a little bit of leeway because I have, without my calendar, I literally feel like the days are just kind of flowing into each other sometimes. And when I get busy and stuff and I don't look at my calendar, it definitely is easy to, oh yeah, I'll schedule that. Not
Yeah.
Even when I am looking at my calendar, I forget
Oh.
what day it is.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Like, am I on Thursday or nope? Okay, now I'm on Saturday. Oops.
Well, I at least know what part of the week I'm in because, like, the beginning of the week, if I didn't have my son for the weekend, I'm in Wisconsin.
Mhm.
Or I'm on my way to Wisconsin. The middle to end of the week, I'm in Minnesota, and then the weekends, I'm always in Wisconsin. So I at least know by like state,
Yep.
my physical location, about. But oof, it's rough. I
well,
get it.
well, with my schedule, you guys got to understand. I have so much to do
You are a busy man.
that but I caught it. Nobody caught it. I caught it.
Only
And-
after I asked you when we were meeting. Like, are we still meeting at 6:30 tonight? And he goes, I've done a bad thing.
I caught it, I confessed it, and I owned up to it.
Good for you. We'll
So-
give you that.
All right, so ladies,
Yes.
I'm gonna step away for a second, but continue.
okay.
I'll
What
finish
is our topic today? What part of this we're going to address today?
what part of the Constitution, the part of the current events, life? Where do you want to start?
You are in charge.
I'm in charge. Okay. So I did a little bit of a chat on Friday. It was just a brief one, kind of going over all of the stuff that was happening in the House. The at the beginning of the year, before they got everybody sworn in and everything, they had to choose their House Speaker. And it's a really fascinating conversation because the Constitution mentions, yes, you have to choose a speaker. Yes, you have to get your officers picked and everything like that. But these were not actually supposed to be these positions of power. They were just helping to moderate their discussions and kind of, giving some order in the chaos, because you get representatives from across all of the, well, now 50 states, but back then the 13 states, 13 colonies, you get representatives from every one of these places, and some of these people hate each other. And so they needed some balance and some order in the House in order to do that, hence having a speaker. But the interesting thing about it is that speakers of the House it wasn't a new thing to America. Great Britain had it, several other governments in the world had it. And in Parliament, actually, there were 7 speakers within a period of time that actually were beheaded because the king did not like them. The speakers were supposed to deliver the news to, whether it was good or bad, deliver the news to the king about what happened in Parliament and what was the state of of Great Britain. And if the king was not happy with their message, he would kill the messenger. So so Americans, we
That's where don't shoot the messenger.
pretty much, or don't guillotine the messenger. Yeah, it was pretty bad. Yeah, they were literally beheaded, 7 of them. So like, this whole concept that we have of, oh, this is so unprecedented, we've never had to spend this much time on voting for a House Speaker. I'm sorry. Right before the Civil War happened, it took 133 ballots to get a House Speaker because people hated each other so much. They couldn't get the correct nominations. They couldn't get people voted in. So 133 ballots, and I think it was like 2 months worth of voting. So this was not unprecedented. It was not something that, oh my gosh, we just don't know how to save our democracy, we're destroying it. Number one, I'm going to go back again. We are not a democracy. We are a constitutionally representative republic. So So when you hear people say that about a democracy and we're trying to, save it, you have no idea what you're talking about. So you need to sit down and shut up because we are not a democracy. We are not two wolves and a lamb trying to decide what's for dinner. We are two wolves and a very heavily armed lamb deciding what's for dinner. So anyway,
So
We
are
need to each of us-
are you trying to tell me that we are not a democracy?
no, we are not. As much as the
So,
Democrats like that term, no, we are not a democracy.
so when people are walking down the street screaming, "This is what democracy look like,"
It's not what democracy. Well, okay, I'm sorry. If it's fiery but mostly peaceful protests, yes, that is what democracy looks like. That is a mob rule. That is two wolves and a lamb sitting down to decide what's for dinner. I mean, that's exactly what it looks like. So if that's what we want, sure, we'll be a democracy, right? We can easily adjust. Tyranny is very quick to come on, and I'm sure there are enough people in power who would be willing to go that route. But we are not a pure democracy. The founding fathers hated democracy, especially the purest form, because of that very thing. They did not want mob rule. That's why we have so many different levels of government. That's why we have so many different branches to check and balance the majority versus the minority and all of that. So yeah, so so I'm watching this whole thing and thinking this is like the best time in American history in decades because they haven't chosen a speaker, and that's a good thing. That there were, to have those 20 people who stood against the crowd being called terrorists by their own party is absolutely egregious. It is so disgusting to me. And I actually heard that that Dan Crenshaw lost his committee assignments partially because of that. I know he didn't get his committee assignments, but I think part of that might have had to do with his behavior towards his fellow Republicans. They weren't doing anything wrong. They were actually doing exactly what a constitutionally representative government is supposed to do. They're supposed to have a very slow as molasses sort of policy on governance. They were never supposed to be a full-time job. It was always supposed to be, part-time job, and then you go back home and you live among the American people who are your constituents, right? So, all of these, when we talk about democracy as being this, we need to pass these bills or we're going to lose our government, or we need to pass these bills so we can get money to Ukraine, that is, yes, a form of democracy and tyranny that we do not want. But what they were doing, those 20 people were doing, were so absolutely excellent that they held to their standard, they held to their integrity, and they said, we're not going to take this lying down anymore. We represent a certain portion of the American people, and those people sent us here to do a job. So
let me.
Yeah, go ahead.
I gotta ask this. This is the new year, so we might as well get in trouble early. Okay,
let's do it.
I gotta ask this. Why is it that when you start to think on your own, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. Angels. Okay. Why do people
Your
make
name's
it?
not Charlie, so
No, but we could be David's angels, I suppose.
I know, right? But why is it that people expect you, instead of being your own person and standing on what you believe, call you a traitor? Call you a traitor when things happen. I give you an example.
Mm-hmm.
I did a TikTok the other day, right? And y'all know who I am. Mm-hmm. Everybody knows. It's no secret that, hold on. Where is it? Okay. That I am a diehard Steelers. Diehard.
Yep.
So
sad.
It's so lovely. We had a winning season. I'm sorry for Green Bay. They didn't have a winning season. It's not our fault. But anyway, a gentleman made a comment about my Steelers. He was like, you live in Wisconsin. You're running for office in Wisconsin. It's not good politically for you to have a Steelers. And I said to him, but this is America. This is what I love about America. You get to choose your team, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then he said something else. I said, and besides, it's not a law.
Yep.
And then I said, matter of fact, then I said, matter of fact, I saw that. I'm not paying attention to that right now. Then I said,
Hi, Stacy. Hi, Jared and Jennifer.
I said, if, right? I said, if that was a law that because you live in Wisconsin, you had to cheer for the Packers, I said, then the Watts family that lives in Pewaukee got to leave. Because they cheer for their sons.
Yeah.
And their sons is on the Pittsburgh Steelers. So are you going to tell a Watts family that they got to leave?
Yeah, no.
You know? So I don't get that those kind of rules where if you don't agree with us, you're the bad person.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a lot of it. We're seeing more of it because we are in a what they call a post-truth culture, right? So everything's relative, everything's subjective. It's my feelings versus your feelings, and so therefore we have this idea but because human beings can't live in no truth, right? We have to have gravity. There's a perfect example. There is such a thing as gravity. If you can deny that it exists, but if you walk off of the top of a 20-story building, you are going to fall to the ground and crush your skull. Like it doesn't, that doesn't change. The problem is we're trying to live as a culture without this concept of absolute truth. And so we get into this notion of if you don't agree with me, then I have this right to vilify you, to make you out to be the bad guy, because we are fighting against absolute truth. And so when you'll hear somebody say there's no such thing as absolute truth, the first question you should ask them is that an absolute truth? Right? Because the statement itself is completely illogical. It's not it's a fallacy. And so there's this tension that we're in because we're trying to live in this post-truth no truth exists, and except for my truth, your truth, and we can't do it. We can't sustain it. And so instead of standing back and saying, yes, there is such a thing as truth, there is such a thing as good and evil, right and wrong, good and bad, right? We just go, I'm going to pretend that there's no truth, but I'm going to be very, very angry with you if you don't agree with my truth, right? Right.
But
So that's where we get this vitriol and this anger and angst about it, because we cannot sustain an ideology that has no such thing as truth. But it makes us angry, right?
Right.
Like we're trying to say there's no such thing as truth, but I'm really mad that you don't agree with my truth.
Right. But watch this though. We always trained or taught by our parents. If you see them jump off the cliff, are you going to jump too?
Yeah. Yeah.
So now
and then we stick our kids in a public education system where everybody does jump off the
cliff. So now we're looking at it like, okay, what we're doing is going to be suicidal. We want you to jump with us. And if you're not jump, you're not one of us. Yep.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. So when the voting was going on, you saw all the negativity and nastiness.
At one point, Matt Gaetz got basically bashed across the head by one of the other guys. They were really going after him for it. And this is the thing though, we don't realize how very civil we are in this society. When Congress first started meeting, they literally carried guns into Congress and they challenged one another to duels. I mean, this was a constant thing. They would cross the aisle with their cane and smack somebody upside the head. They were constantly throwing down gauntlets towards each other. So when we talk about civil discourse, and then say that what Matt Gaetz and the other 19 people were doing was not civil or not respectful. No, they were actually being very respectful. In fact, the people that they were respecting the most was the American people, which is exactly who they're supposed to respect. So I don't care what they get up to on that floor, as long as every individual in that floor is saying, I'm going to respect my constituents and the American people who sent me here. And I'm not budging and I'm going to maybe completely suicide my political career in order to do this, right? Because this is what I was sent here for. And so yeah, so if they want, like, if we want to bring duels back on the congressional floor, go right ahead, right? Like, that's more civil than what we're doing right now, calling each other terrorists because we're mad at them, right? So, you know, it's ridiculous. But at the same time, I was rather entertained, and I did make a few comments on Facebook basically saying this is the first time in decades, guys, that the Congress has worked for the American people for an entire week. Like,
I
this
love
is
that post. I shared the snot out of that post.
good because it's true. They were doing their job, and those 20 people who stood their ground, they should be praised, not worshipped, but praised for what they did, because they were doing exactly the job that they were sent to do. And the amazing thing about it was they got the concessions finally that they were looking for the American people. So we're going to see this impact is going to influence the next decade or more because of what they did.
I like Jennifer's idea, by the way.
Very, very cool. Yes, I know. I would love that.
But here's the
supposed to be on C-SPAN.
I know, but here's the thing: if you bring the duels back, those who are against guns will have a gun.
Ooh. Oh no.
What a concept!
Well, you mean
And
we
they-
can defend ourselves?
and they probably have an AR-15,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
making sure they get everybody. You know.
Yeah. Let's see.
Okay,
making
let's see
them
what Jen said.
Yeah. Oh yes, because we should definitely do voting ages for brain damaged children who've gone through the public education system. My apologies for saying brain damage, but honestly, like, at that stage, a 16-year-old kid is not mature enough, very rarely mature enough to make decisions like that. I will caveat that.
I stand behind what you said, and here's why. Besides all of the brainwashing and the warping of truth,
Mhm.
absolute truth with a capital T,
Yep.
that happens in public education,
Mm-hmm.
look at all the like, I'm into health and wellness. Look at all the environmental
Yeah.
toxins they're put through, fluorescent lighting,
Yep.
the sit down, shut up, and do your worksheet mentality.
Yep.
Do not question authority.
Yep.
Or
Insert
have
the dinging of the bell, Pavlov's dogs, right?
Yep. And then obviously the requirement for the hokey pokeys, not even the current one, all of them, all
Yep.
72 plus.
Yep.
Like, they are brain damaged. There's
Yeah.
environmental toxins. Their food is dead food because it's canned and processed. There's zero healthy stuff about a 16-year-old that's gone through the public education system.
Yeah. Well, and not only that, let's look even deeper into this. Okay, so the original voting rules were for people who own property who were invested, and property it didn't mean an estate, right? It meant you had a vested interest because you were a tax-paying citizen, right? So you bring 16-year-olds who do not pay taxes, or if so, very, very little of them, you know,
Some don't even have a driver's license.
Exactly.
And a car.
Who do not pay taxes, are not invested in American freedom and liberty and all of those things. They have been indoctrinated to believe that communism and socialism are the great way to go. Who are they going to vote for? They're going to vote for the people who are like, we'll give you free college. You don't have to pay for your college education.
But wait a
guys.
minute.
We'll give you free money. You don't even need a job at this point, right? So who are they going to vote for?
But wait a minute. They don't even have an ID.
Exactly. Or if they do, they just got it and they're still learning how to use it. You know, like, this is absolutely ridiculous. The idea of bringing 16-year-olds into the voting block now.
But that's the entire intention. Like, Sarah and I just had a conversation the other day. Yep. I literally asked her, and I'm going to out myself, y'all, because I want to be like, I want to lead by example and show that I don't know all of my shenanigans. I'm doing the best I can. I have my avenue and I'm expanding it as I'm able to.
Yeah.
So the conversation she and I had, first one was, what's the process in a village board meeting on how to nominate someone to get them on the ballot for village board members? And then that led to, when are, like, specifically this year, what are the dates, but when are all the elections that happen? Because like I know the November one. That's the one everyone typically knows. I'm not going to make an assumption, but you know, and then you know there's primaries and like this other stuff, and then there's this thing that sometimes happens in August. Like they intentionally don't want us to know so that they can just feed, like literally spoon feed. Here's what to do. Go do it, and then keep them in this limited like frame. If they don't even know,
it's why we have election seasons now instead of election days.
Right, and this is why spring election is where they get you.
Yeah,
because all the education elections is in the spring.
Yep.
Supreme Court is in the spring.
Yep.
Mayors and aldermen and county supervisors are in the spring.
Yep.
So, and they know that a lot of people is not coming out for those because they don't push those. Even in Milwaukee, we have this thing they call souls to the polls. They never push nobody to the polls in the spring election. They never
because usually the ones who know the spring elections are ones who've been voting for their entire life and they're used to it, right? This was in their day and age, that was what they learned, right? I've worked the spring elections once so far. My husband worked it twice. You see a lot of older people coming in for the spring elections. You don't see very many young people. Now there are exceptions to the rule.
Thing. And I'm including myself.
Yeah.
I mean, millennials and younger, at least. At a minimum, it's millennials and younger that don't really know.
Well, when it's spring election, you can get paid for just sleeping.
Yeah.
Because don't nobody come in.
Yep, I know. Yeah, you sit through those. They're very long and very boring. Yeah, it's interesting. I like this. Oh, Jared. Yeah, it's true though. It is very true. We okay, and this was what I was going to say earlier, talking about this voting age. You know, in Thomas Jefferson's time, voting at age 16, he was an estate holder at age 11. So yeah, he would have been a property owner. He would have been able to go to the polls and vote because he understood and he was invested in his county, in his nation, right? Nowadays, we don't have very many mature 16-year-olds. There are exceptions to the rule. But we're the founding fathers did not have a universal voting idea. They did not want it to be universal voting. They wanted informed citizens to go to the polls. They wanted well-informed, virtuous citizens to go to the polls. Now, could they control that completely? No, of course not. There were obviously immoral people who went to the polls and voted for slavery to continue and voted for, whatever. But their concept is they had to be invested in their nation and in the decisions that were going to be made because they were sending their representatives, right? We are sending our representatives. We are choosing people to represent us, represent our values, represent our culture, represent our way of life, represent the law, and on top of all that, represent the Constitution.
Right. But you also got to look at it this way. Back then, when a 16-year-old voted, by the time they got out of school in the 8th grade, look at all the knowledge that they had back then.
Oh my goodness!
It's not equivalent to what today would be at least a bachelor's degree.
Yeah, I should find some of my old the old readers and stuff that I've got because they literally will show you the exams that these kids took. They were oral exams. They had to orally present the answers to a question. So you had to do math in your head, long division in your head. We just finished reading the Laura Ingalls Wilder series. No, I know. We finished reading the Laura Ingalls Wilder series. One of the community events that they did was a school exhibition. That meant that the students in each of their grades got up and exhibited their knowledge. So Laura Ingalls and a friend of hers memorized the entire history of the United States from the first colonists who entered it to the president at that time. I cannot remember who it was. It was the 60s, 70s. So after Abraham Lincoln. Anyway, they memorized the dates and the times, and they presented to the community their knowledge. Not only that, but they did spelling bees. They were spelling bees against adults in the community, and these young students were challenging the adults in the community.
Well, I would have flunked. And I'd have just went and played basketball. I would have been like, forget it.
I got a blue ribbon in a spelling bee in 4th grade, and I beat the 6th graders, so I was pretty proud of myself.
I got gypped. My 5th grade teacher said pendulum instead of pendulum.
Uh-oh.
And totally screwed me up.
Yeah.
I had it right, except I didn't think I knew the word because she pronounced it wrong. And I'm like, she screwed me over.
Yeah.
I'm blame shifting, by the way.
Well, I mean, but there is something to be said. Okay, we're not going victim status, but if you have really crappy teachers teaching you crappy things, then yeah, you're going to not have the correct information and the correct knowledge in order to succeed in this world. But yeah, Laura Ingalls was 15 when she got her first license. They don't usually do that. In fact, they told her, don't tell me your age. I don't need to know. I just know that I saw you at this school exhibition, and I want you to test for a teacher's exam license. And she tested so well, they had to dock her a few points so that they could give her the level of teaching certification that would be more appropriate for her age.
Yes.
So here's the thing. She was teaching boys older than her. And not only that, but they had to renew their teaching certificate every time they wanted to get a new school, to teach a new school. So she couldn't go to even the same school that she went to the year before. She couldn't go to that same school. She had to retest first in order to make sure that she was continuing to keep this knowledge. Oh. Now, tell me how many teachers nowadays have tenure and never have to take another exam or do any actual continuing education. And when I say actual, it's not CRT, right? Actually have to know their stuff. They get it all handed to them. Here's the curriculum you're going to use, and here's the notes that you're going to teach your kids, and here's the tests, right? She had to create her own tests.
Now, since we're talking about education, bam,
Woo!
we have a, we're looking for volunteers. We partner with the Brewers to raise money for Kingdom Ecclesia Academy. And so we're working all 81 of the Brewers games. So if you want to volunteer for any of those games, then call me at 414-676-0842. We're taking volunteers. We're working with the Brewers. And I'm grateful that they are allowing us in to raise money for the school. And I'm not talking about $5,000 or $10,000. We'll be able to raise almost $250,000 or more for the school.
Wow, that's amazing.
So
can you repeat the number again? I'm gonna put the info in the comments too.
414-676-0842. And so anybody that want to volunteer, we're taking volunteers that you can work 1 game, 2 games. I even got people that volunteer to work. I got people that volunteer to work all 81 games with us.
Wow, that's
for the
amazing.
school. And so we're in the process of looking for volunteers, and we're looking for the building. So we'll be ready to open up September 2023. Woo! So we're excited. We're excited about that. Let me see what Jared said. Jared, I was away. I will make that call on Monday morning. Don't beat me. Because if you attack me, you're going to have to explain to Skinny why her husband is hurt. So I don't think you want to explain that one. So there's the number for anybody that want to volunteer. We're looking for them. We'll be selling hot dogs, brats, burgers, beer, soda, and ice cream. We got the custard all in the same thing. And we're right by home plate.
Wow.
Nice.
Wow.
So we right by home plate. So you get to meet so many amazing fans that's going to be coming in. Yeah. You get a nice, cool Kingdom Ecclesia baseball cap to wear. And so, so we're excited. We're excited about that. And, because education is so important right now, we have to give our children a better education.
And starting out, I mean, I have zero qualms with groups that are starting out more with like the one-room schoolhouse style, where they have multiple groups of ages together, learning together. I think there's more benefit to that style because it gives the older kids an ability to practice leadership skills and communication skills, and the younger kids get a good role model.
Yep.
Well, if that's what we got to do, we're gonna have the school open 2023.
There we go.
Awesome.
And then once a week, you guys gonna come in and teach Constitution and everything. And so I'm excited about that. Jennifer, I'll take the cookies, but you still got to work the game.
Nice.
Oh, for $20. Okay. So
very cool.
So we're excited about the school opening. We're excited. Oh, I don't have it on here, but I'll just talk about it.
Okay.
We're also having, let me see, can I put it up real quick? It's y'all fault. I just want y'all to know.
You just want to hide my face.
No, I can't find it, so I'm going to talk about it. We're starting to go January 23rd. We're having what's called a retour. Okay. The retour is going to every neighborhood library in the city of Milwaukee and talk about restoring family, rebuilding our community, reconnecting with our neighbors, recommitting to changing the Milwaukee, and reestablishing trust with the city of Milwaukee. So we're going to be talking about that starting on the 23rd. Every Monday, starting the 23rd, we're going to be at a different library. So we want you guys to come on out, join us, and let's make it better, and so having that PMA, we get away. Hey, we free. So yeah. So I'm excited about it, you guys, because this is what it's all about. Empowering everybody to know truth, to have the knowledge, to change their lives, change the way things are going, change how we do things. And we got to go back to some basic stuff.
Yep. Fundamentals. Isn't that how every basketball season or baseball season starts? They start with the fundamentals. You don't go in thinking, oh, I've been doing this for 5-10 years, right? You go in, you start back with the fundamentals, because repeating that and bringing that back to mind and constantly reviewing it, that's how we learn. That's how we grow. That's how we develop. We go back. This is why, they tell you to do a health check, right? But I already did my health check. I already know these numbers, or I already know whatever. No, because we change. We go through different phases in life. And so therefore we're not going to be the same level of health or the same whatever at different stages of life. And so therefore we continue to go back to those, because we don't want to get caught with surprise, surprise, you've got a cancer diagnosis because you haven't been taking care of your body, or surprise, you've got, surprise, you don't remember these things, so you can't retake your driving test, or whatever this is.
Tying it back to even just on a faith level, like at the beginning of last year, I got a fire lit under me to read my Bible for myself, by myself, straight through. I just got to Ezra. So I just finished dealing with, and I'm saying dealing with because I don't like genealogy and like all the dates and the names and like that part. It's a drag for me. So, but I just got through, 1st and 2nd Chronicles and all that stuff. And holy moly, it's mind blowing what you just said, Sarah, how even the Israelites and the all those people of the time, literally, like every other king that they had, boom, we're following God, boom, we're not, like how easily they forgot too. And that's why we have to continue to repeat and teach. And it's not like riding a bike. If you don't use it, you're gonna lose it.
Right. And do you remember the story of Josiah? King Josiah, where they were basically cleaning out the temple and they found the scrolls of the law, right? And he's like, we're going to make an entire community, like nationwide, fasting and prayer, and we're going to read this from start to finish because we've forgotten it. Or the judges, there arose another judge because the nation of Israel had forgotten, right? It caveated that there for the judge rose up, they went and they died, and then guess what, Israel went back to its sins and everything, and so then another judge rose up. And I mean, it's over and over in scriptures where Jesus, how many times did he repeat himself? He would teach it, and then he would repeat it to the apostles, and then he'd be like, do you know what I'm talking about? They'd be like, nope. And so he'd go, okay, well, here's what it means. And then he'd go back out and he'd repeat it again. That was how they taught. That was how anything sinks in. We can get something taught to us once, but it doesn't sink in until I think it's like 10 times. You have to do something 10 times to even get started having it really built into your long-term memory.
Remember.
Yep.
And when you look at it, when we look at it for what it really is and everything, we have to, even with the church, even with reading our Bibles, we have to go back to God's original tent, which means tent means his will. His will means his purpose. So we got to go and look at this thing and says, wait a minute. God's purpose was for us to dominate. God's purpose was never for us to look bad or anything. He says, I will put you high above all nations. So I'm up here. I'm not down here. But because religion took it and took a piece away from it and added their own thing, took something else away and added their own thing, it got so many people confused. Because we went from loving to getting the pitchforks and the torches and want to kill folks. And you'd be like, wait, you just said you representing God.
Yeah.
So when it comes to life itself and to be free to enjoy life, you got to go back to the fundamental. You got to go back to the basics and says, okay, what was the founding fathers' original tent for me when they wrote the First Amendment? What was the original tent for me when they wrote the 10th Amendment? I need to understand the original tent, not what somebody added on, not what somebody, let her know. Thank you. We're not going to be on the 3-hour show.
Not for 3 hours. No, I promised the kids I was going to spend some time with them tonight. So,
and I'm not getting in trouble either. I promised my body. So, but going to the basic and the thing about it is, it's the minute stuff that we miss.
Yep.
That just mess us up. Just like you notice, we ain't played the song anymore. Keys to the Kingdom versus King of the Kingdom. Yeah, that's that one word just took that whole.
Are you getting that fixed up, by the way?
It is fixed. We've got a different intro now.
Yeah, we got a different.
Call you out on that last month.
Well, hey, it is what it is. We So when we're talking about the Constitution, our rights, government, and everybody got to understand. Even with government, you got to go back to the basic. Control your local government.
Yep.
But they got us focused on the White House, and they all in your house. So we got to get them out of our house. We got to start taking back local government. I did in my TikTok, I was letting people in Milwaukee know, you got 4 new faces running for school board. That, with all 4 of them winning, that can flip the school board.
Yeah.
With all 4 of them winning.
Yeah.
You have Supreme Court race. You got to do your homework, because whoever gets in can change the fate of Wisconsin.
Speaking of, did anybody see the forum that they did with all 4 of the candidates?
No, I missed it.
I should share that link. It's a little, I mean, I think it's a little bit over an hour, but it is, if you want to know who to vote for, this is the perfect place to go find out, because you will very, very quickly see who is answering constitutionally and who is not. And one of the justices even mentions it. Yeah, I will. One of the justices, or the candidates, even mentions it. I'm hearing a lot of people talking about their feelings and their opinions on the subject. That's not our job as the Supreme Court, right? Um, I will tell you, I have my pick, because I've talked to this candidate. I have seen them speak and seen them
I
actually.
already know who your pick is.
You know who my pick is? Well, this forum just proved it, hands down. Yeah, it was an excellent. I mean, it was just a stark dividing line between what our actual role of the Supreme Court is and what the activists are looking to do.
Well,
It was absolutely amazing. There was even somebody who mentioned that the Constitution was a living and breathing and active document. And I just about, I wanted to do something, punch something through the screen. Walk into this.
All I know, your pick better like sweet potato pie over pumpkin.
Oh, goodness.
but you know, and these are the races that they sneak in. These are the races that they hide, because they really don't want you to get involved in these kind of races. Yep. It's like, let us do it. You ain't got to worry about it. In Milwaukee, there's also 3 automatic district races, and one district has 8 people running for that office, and 4 don't even live in the district.
Oh, wow.
They live in another district.
How is that even possible?
Well, in Milwaukee, you can run. If you win, you got to, before you sworn in, you have to
move in. Yeah. Okay. Wow.
What you said?
Steve is a jerk. I'm trying to get back into eating healthy and like taking care of my body, my temple, and she is torturous tonight.
I know, she's just so vicious. When you get to church tomorrow, go straight to the altar. Just go straight to the altar. That's all I'm concerned about.
Okay. Interesting.
Oh, I gotta check that out. I need to know who said that now. Who said it?
Well, it was a woman with a very interesting expression and very interesting views on her role as a judge. Actually, I probably could say the names, but I'm trying to remember actually what it was. A really weird last name, but anyway, she like, when she looked at the camera and looked at the people, like her eyes would literally like bug out. And she was like, I don't want you sitting on the Supreme Court, because you have this idea that there's just, I get to do whatever I want with the Constitution, and I get to make up my own mind about what the laws say, and these laws aren't fair. And it's like, that's not what justice is. Justice is not fair.
But again, that's what they're teaching us. Like, yes. I have had so many conversations this week with people explaining, not in a harsh way, just because it's part of what I do, having to explain that unless you're looking at like Hillsdale College, like
Hillsdale College, yep.
Like some of these more, I'm not saying they're obscure, but like if you're talking mainstream, like they're super small scale in terms of like law school, like Harvard, whatever.
Yeah.
So, but if you look, virtually no law school in this country teaches any of their law students, even if they're studying constitutional law, what the Constitution actually says,
Yep.
or their state constitution. They're only taught constitutional theory and case law precedents.
Yep.
And so if that's what they're learning, that's why we're SOL, because
Yeah.
they're literally not even teaching, like, they're not even getting to learn what the Constitution actually says. So
Yeah.
how can they even uphold it?
Yeah, and you'll find it fascinating. I'm trying to remember where this was. It was at a conference or something, or we had an event that happened somewhere. I believe it was here in Black River Falls. Anyway, there was a lady there who claimed to be a constitutional lawyer, and we asked her, well, did you actually have classes on the Constitution? I mean, what do you mean by constitutional lawyer? And her response was, we had classes on our Constitution as well as comparing it with world constitutions.
So it's like a world religion class, but in terms
Pretty
of
much.
government.
Yep, pretty much. I said, that's not a constitutional lawyer then. Because what you're doing is you're saying that the other constitutions, who on average last about 17 years, are somehow superior or equal to the United States Constitution, which has, in spite of how much crap we've thrown at it, it has survived for 235 years. So you're going to tell me that those minuscule constitutions that they don't even follow
It's
in
apples
our
and
country
oranges.
are comparative to the ones we have. We had Ruth Bader Ginsburg stating that constitutions from other nations needed to be examined in judicial review. I mean, this is a Supreme Court justice who is saying that we need to compare our Constitution with world constitutions in order to make our decision.
Pretty sure.
Why not?
Constitution that should be presiding over things in our country should be our country's constitution.
You'd think, given that it's the law of the land,
right?
Well, and this is the scary part, because we had a candidate running for the top cop position, Attorney General, and didn't even know that they was over the crime lab. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So when we look at it, we need to put every candidate for Supreme Court under the microscope and hit them with questions. And I have invited all of them to come on and take the heat and see if they can stand the heat of these people that watches and asks questions on the show. But you think the thing about it is they're not ready for that, because they want questions before they. So
okay.
what are you going to ask?
Literally had. So this is how you know that the questions are already like pre-approved, because she had an entire binder full of the answers to the questions.
Yes.
She was reading from the binder of her answers, and I'm thinking, okay, and this is supposedly one of the conservative candidates, and great, if you're a conservative, that's great, that's awesome, but her answers did not ever answer the question. They were always, well, I would have to review each individual case, and I would have to see how, and this is why I'm becoming wanting to go to be a Supreme Court justice, and oh, by the way, people just saw my recent court case that I did that was pretty famous, and even like I got praise and letters from around the world about how well I did on this case, and I'm thinking,
well,
did you?
That's not the point.
even Stacey, what is your problem tonight?
She's spicy tonight.
I
Maybe
know.
she's on a detox and craving it, and like wants to bring us all down with her.
I know.
It's
So
the
we all might as well just cut the show and meet her at the Pine Cone.
There you go.
Pine Cone is 24 hours, so it ain't gonna close on us.
It'll be a bit.
But here's the thing that and y'all get me, because I want to reverse this thing, right? I want to reverse it to the fact where using the Constitution, right? Using the Fifth and Sixth Amendment,
Yeah.
right? And so she's the judge on this case. If the young man, even though it was terrible what he did, though, and everything,
Mhm.
but if he really understood that he went, you know what he did? He went on the defense instead of being on the offense. Because it wasn't his job to prove anything. It was their job, right?
Mhm.
So he could have went in and fought against first degree intentional homicide, right? And went in for manslaughter because they would have to prove that what happened was intentional,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And even though in the minds of the people, they already went in with the right mind. But
Yeah,
then
I mean, it is pretty hard to not think that when you see them like literally swerving to not avoid people, but actually to hit them.
right.
It's
So
hard. It's hard to
it's
get that out of your head. Yeah.
right. It's hard, but the thing about it is, if the case was, if it was the same case, but not that much evidence where he delivered everything to the DA,
Mm-hmm.
how would she would have handled that case if it wasn't that cut and dry? You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And just because, and I try to tell people this all the time, just because you get a little acknowledgement, okay, doesn't guarantee you deserve to be in the next level.
Yeah.
And so if you and I say it like that to say this: if you don't understand the Constitution, you don't need to go to the next level.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and not only that, you said they don't deserve to be there. They're the worst person for that job, because if they're going for it because of the accolades they've gotten, then what they're looking for is more power, more accolades. They're looking for attention. The Supreme Court, we shouldn't technically, I mean, in Wisconsin, because it's an election, we should know who our Supreme Court justices are. But on the federal level, like, there's an argument that we shouldn't even know them as well as we do, because they shouldn't be so public and so political, right?
Right.
Their job is to adjudicate the law, the cases that come before, and decide for or against, like, not decide for or against the law, but decide, yes, this was a justified case for this, and therefore it matches up with the Constitution, and therefore we're going to let this stand. They're supposed to give an opinion. They hand down opinions. They are not the law. And so the idea that we are like that one of the Supreme Court justices has a nickname because she's so famous and so well known, and she's just like a celebrity. The Supreme Court, they're worshipped in a sense, in a way that they were never supposed to be treated in our government. They were supposed to be the weakest branch of government. And yet we have handed them so much power, because now they are not only adjudicating law, they are making it as they go.
So should the judge that sentenced Jeffrey Dahmer run for Supreme Court?
Well, I'm not really completely aware of that case. I mean, I know there was a case, and I know who Jeffrey Dahmer is, but I don't know.
But you still don't even know who the judge really is, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, Jeffrey Dahmer was a very big case.
Yeah.
Right? Very big case. But you don't know who that judge is to this day. If I ask who the judge that sentenced Jeffrey Dahmer, nobody knows.
Yeah.
Nope,
They can't
I have
even
to search it.
Right, you got to search it. And so when we start to make people more celebrities than they supposed to be,
Yep.
then the question is, are they going to go do the job that we want done?
Right.
You know, and so, I mean, we've seen it already. We've seen it in the we saw it in the wait a minute, let me do his first. But we saw it in the attorney general race, where one candidate was getting a lot of publicity, and they ran for attorney general.
Yeah.
And when they ran, they didn't even know the job of attorney general. They just ran because people was pumping them up.
Yeah, you should probably know your job description before you run for that particular job.
Right. And then we have one run for governor because of the publicity and the pumped up that they got. Now, was that the right thing to do? No, they should have stayed a representative so they could continue to fight the fight.
Come back and check it.
Right? I
Yeah.
mean, they should have stayed as a representative so they can continue to fight the fight. You know, it was a fight. You should have stayed right there. You wouldn't even had an opponent. You would have should have stayed right there. And so, but because of the pump, we always get out of our lane when somebody starts stroking our ego.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's what messed us up. This is not a popularity contest. This is our lives. This is the decision making of our children. This is the decision making on how Wisconsin going to be shaped.
Yeah.
You know, and so we should not be putting somebody there if it's because of popularity. And the question should ask, if they never had that case, would they be in this race?
Exactly.
You know,
And that's the thing. When we are going to elect these people into offices, no matter what that office is, what we need to know more than anything is their character.
yes.
Are they fighting for freedom or against it? And
Yes.
what is their long-term, what's the word I'm looking for? Their I keep thinking of the word rap sheet, but that's not the right thing. What is their
track record?
Thank you. Track record. What is their track record? If their track record is they're all over the board and it just depends on, you know, whether they had a poop that day, then maybe we should probably think they're not going to be consistent in how they adjudicate law, right?
Mm-hmm. I know of a judge over in one of the neighboring counties to Jackson County. And apparently someone got to them and told them they were accepting too many deals. And now, like, for a period, at least, they were accepting 0 deals just because someone told them they were accepting too many.
Wow.
And it was to the point where in a particular case, the DA and the attorney basically teamed together on one, you know, tag teamed for one, you know, for the individual. Be like, judge.
Yeah.
Like there's not enough for what this was supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you know, let us do this deal. Like,
yeah.
And
wow.
So it went through, but like, man, just
no.
Right. And so when we look,
can get manipulated.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And the thing about it, you know, the thing about it is, we saw in the Bible when the majority rules. We saw how 3 million people lost their lives because of majority rules.
Yep.
Instead of them going in the promised land, the majority say we can't do it.
Yep.
And then they stay outside the promised land, murmuring and complaining.
Yeah, and look who got into the promised land. The minority who said, nope, we've got to do this God's way, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, you know, so when we, let's see. Oops, typo, sorry.
Didn't Kristen have some interesting stuff happen while she was in office? Was that the one that was like all the scandals? It has become a popularity contest. It really has. I've talked to people in my own hometown that have told me if you get on certain people's bad sides, you will never run for another office. You will never have any influence in this community. It's all over the board. And this is part of part of the idea that we have refused to continue to build our local communities, our local families, and instead we've expanded to let's let the state and the federal government take care of our problems. And so no longer do we have that cohesiveness. We can't, have differences of opinion. We have to use force and money and power to bully other people into doing what we want.
Here's to tie into that. This happens at the smallest level because anyone who does not know the exact town that I live in, I'm not going to share because one, doesn't really matter. To, everyone knows me here. So anyways, so I attended this last week's village board meeting to help nominate my friend for, getting on the ballot for one of the open seats.
Yep.
And first up was village board president, which most of us have been wanting to get rid of for quite a while because she plays favorites. Her name is a name in the community, and she plays favorites to the other people whose name is a name in the community. And the person who nominated someone else for that president position happens to work in the village hall, and she's not looking forward to the next couple months until the election happens because she nominated someone that was not that the current president. Here's the kicker. Here's the best part. Someone else nominated, and it sounded more out of obligation to be like, oh, pleasantries, the whole Minnesota nice thing, Midwest nice thing, nominated the current sitting person. It was crickets. It took until the second, at least, call to see if anyone was going to second it. And someone else who's like on the board was like, oh, like they weren't paying attention, like, oh, are we waiting for a second? And he's like, oh, a second. We almost didn't have a second. We could have gotten rid of her. But because of pressure and names, being a name in the community, that's the only reason she got back on the ballot.
All I gotta say is that are wetback people. Because people with a backbone is gonna stand. See, that's our problem. We are bold when it comes to Facebook. We can type and say anything. YouTube, TikTok. We can sound so tough. But then when it's face to face, it ain't like they're gonna take your life or anything. And we get scared. We don't want to say nothing. We don't want to stand up for what we claim we believe in. We sit around and it's funny because we can type some stuff, some harsh stuff and be like, yeah, this, and don't let me catch you. And all of a sudden you see them outside, they be like, oh, did I say that? No, if you're going to stand up for something, stand all the way up. Quit being a wuss, because ain't nothing going to change with a bunch of wuss, And so when we look at it, if we feel a certain way, when I'm in public, I tell people this. If I'm meeting with somebody and stuff and they playing with their phone and stuff, one guy said, I'm not recording you. I told him, I don't care if you are. Because what I say to you, I say to anybody. You ain't got to record me. I don't hide it. I speak my mind. If I think that leadership suck, I'm going to tell you leadership suck. Now, if you thinking I'm not going to say it because I'm going to lose a friend, my friend is in the room back there. So I'm not worried about a friend. My children will be friends. I can hang out with my children, my grandchildren. I'm not going to sell myself to hang out with somebody. No, or you're not, or you're not going to bully me into not. I tell pastors this all the time. The way I preach, I say, listen, the way I preach, you don't have to invite me to your church. because I can preach 52 Saturdays at my own church. I can teach 52 Wednesdays at my own church. I don't need to go nowhere, so I'm going to say it the way it needs to be said. So when it comes locally, I'm going to say it. When it comes locally, I'm going to say it. When it comes wide, I'm going to say it. When it comes national, I'm going to say it. And then people say, well, you won't win an election if you say it, right? Doesn't matter. I have a pulpit. I have an audience. I can say what's on my mind while I'm running. Now, you have a choice to look it up and see things, but I'm going to always be able to speak my mind because of the fact that we got too much at stake. And when we got people running because of popularity, that's the dumbest thing that I ever seen in my life, because of the fact that we really gotta ask, if this didn't happen, would you be running? Are you really concerned about our Constitution? Are you really concerned about our freedom? Or just because you was chosen to watch over a case that was a slam dunk trial, everybody knew the moment day one of that trial, they already knew he was guilty. They already knew he was going to be sentenced. They already knew that it was going to happen. So it ain't something like, oh, we won this big case and we was able to present all this evidence. It was a slam dunk. And so you don't get praise for a slam dunk. Get praise for something that wasn't a slam dunk. You know? Yeah. And so that does, and I hate these phrases that it's my turn. It's my turn to run. It's my turn to be. Yeah. It's my turn. No, it's not my turn.
We just had our representative for our district just posting pictures on Facebook, little selfies saying, I was born in abject poverty and I've pulled myself up by my bootstraps and now here I'm living the American dream, sitting in Congress. Like, that's not the American dream. The American dream is freedom to live your life the way that God's mission and purpose has given you. If that's to run for Congress, that's great. But you are not up there to have a power play. You're up there to be a slave to the people. Like, that is your job. You are a slave to the people. That's Benjamin Franklin talked about that, right? He literally said, you are a slave to the people when you sit in that house. That is the people's house. You are a representative. You are lower than low. You are not there for power. You are there to represent other people. You are representing their freedoms and their liberties, God-given, not government-granted. And you are there to represent our Constitution. And the laws and the authority that you've been given is borrowed. It is borrowed authority. That was one of the things that I loved by one of the judicial candidates. He said, I have borrowed authority right now. It is not mine. And that's you guys have every right to take it back if I violate my constitutional role.
Wow. Love that.
Right. Yeah. And the thing about it is, people forget. They forget that they are servants. Mm-hmm. You're running to be a slave. Your master is your people. Yeah. And so when you understand that, I run for office because I want to serve, not be served. Okay? And even as a pastor, I says, I don't need you to serve me. I'm the gift. According to Ephesians, he gave. So that means I'm a gift.
You call yourself a pastor? I thought we were getting out of that church language.
I am, but I'm using it for those who ain't out of it yet.
Oh, so much for that 21-day challenge.
So when you look at it, though, you have to understand that you are a gift. You're a servant. You want to serve the people. You want to go and represent the people. Yep. You're not representing yourself. Yeah. You're not up there to rub elbows to see how many thousands of dollar deals you can make and put in your pocket.
You're not there to represent the corporations. You're not there to represent the big major organizations and companies. You're not there to represent the lobbyists. You are there to represent we the people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you're not there to represent a party. You're there to represent the people.
Oh, yeah. That's another thing that just ticks me off. We're supposed to, our Republican Party chair is talking about how we just all need to fall in line and stay together and united and all of this stuff, and we represent the Republican Party.
Wait a minute, which one? Which chair?
The one who's coming in.
The over the state?
Yes.
Let me tell you about that. I'm so glad, because see, I'm not.
Ooh, I love when he gets fired up. His pitch goes up.
I'm not part of it, because I stand on my book. I'm in the middle, and the thing that I hate, well, I ain't gonna use the word hate, because hate is a harsh word, but the thing that I dislike the most is when you try to tell the people, this is how it is, this is how it's gonna be. You just fall in line and shut up, and just go in the direction that we want to go in. And this is why, if we ever want to fix America, we have to have an exodus from both parties.
Yeah, because you know what they're actually saying? They're not saying we need to unite under one banner and fight for freedom and liberty. They're saying we need to continue to ignore history, because history is going to destroy us if we actually acknowledge that it exists, and that we're making the same really, really bad decisions. Right? Yep. That's literally what they're telling us to do. Don't look at that safest and freest election that ever happened. Don't re-examine that anymore. We gotta stop living in the past, guys. Don't look at the last election and seeing, what might have got, what we could have done differently there. We got to forget about that. Don't look at the COVID stuff, all of the hokey pokies stuff. Don't look at all that stuff, because that's in the past, and we just need to move forward and progress. Well, I'm sorry. Progression is not going in the same wrong direction and continuing to stubbornly, hard-headedly continue down that same direction and say, oh, we'll get to the right path eventually. Progression is going, we're going the wrong way. Let's turn around, do a complete 180, and let's walk the other direction until we find where we got off the path.
I'll drop something, some valuable stuff, since you brought up the hokey pokey stuff, Sarah.
All right, go ahead, do it.
Anyone who wants to know how to not repeat history in terms of that, and is just getting started, find the deposition for Stanley Plotkin. And the new deposition that just came out, was that one through ICANN? It was with Aaron Siri, and I remember the I think her name was like Kathy Edwards or something like that. Those depositions, they're 8 hours plus each, but taken in bite-sized chunks, because there's some truths that this attorney Aaron Siri does. So what a deposition is, for anyone who doesn't know, a deposition is a court-ordered interview, basically, on, with a subject matter expert or whatever. It could be a witness or whatever. So, but an interview by someone on a specific topic. Aaron Siri is working with ICANN, and I'm not going to say what that is. You can look up what ICANN is. It's Del Bigtree's thing.
The high wire.
Yeah, yep. So these depositions, particularly Stanley Plotkin's, that's the first one. That one came out a couple years ago.
I just posted it.
He is basically the godfather, grandfather of all pokes. If you listen to even 1 hour of it, just the first hour, don't ignore the entire rest of the 8 hours. Watch 1 hour of this, and you will see how and why this has all happened many times over in recent history, ever since these things came out. That I've seen so many people who are kind of on the fence. They've heard some things, they're leaning more toward, against, but that is just insane. Some bomb said.
You know what was sad is they'll say, okay, you guys, we just need to all fall in line. But we just watch you guys give Evers 4 more years.
Yeah.
And we
Right.
supposed to fall in line.
Yeah. No,
And,
thank you.
and we gave him 4 more years because of the candidate we didn't want. So we will sacrifice all of the hard work and effort that people, time, money, whatever, and says, well, the one we like didn't go. So 4 more years. This is why I say we need to do an Exodus. Because when you ask the question, what is a conservative? You get so many answers. Because you got Christian conservatives,
Yeah.
then you got homosexual conservatives, then you got constitutional conservatives. So what is it? What is an actual conservative? You know, we say this all the time. Well, you're not a real conservative. What's a conservative? What do you say a conservative is? And you know what? You'll find out a lot of people is I'm a patriot conservative. See, that's another one. That's
Yep.
that's another. I forgot about the patriot conservatives.
I mean, they had what was it? CPAC, was it 2 years ago? They had an adult movie star conservative.
I know.
Yeah, they had a booth there for this person. Yes. They had
So-
transgender conservatives. I mean, this is it. We've lost the meanings of words nowadays.
Right.
Because,
So what is a conservative these days? And then you got the Republican Party. You got what they call log cabin Republicans, and those are the homosexual Republicans, right?
I think so.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so. But you got the Republican Party talking about they're against homosexuality, but then you got homosexual Republicans. You got Republicans say they're not prejudiced, but then you got prejudiced Republicans. I mean, help me understand what's what. This is why I am so grateful that I can stand on the word of God in the middle and do it the right way, because at least you know where I'm coming from, and at least I know where you're coming from. And I can respect you walking in integrity, and as I want you to respect me walking in integrity. I mean, same thing with Democrats. Well, you got conservative Democrats. Yeah,
The log cabin Republicans are LGBTQ plus
We-
plus. Yeah.
plus and plus.
Yes. Alphabet soup.
But you have them though, and
Yeah.
some of them are part of chairmen of counties in Wisconsin. So you looking at this, and everybody's saying they're this, and I'm sitting there like, but what is that?
Yeah.
I just want to know.
We need to ask, what are we conserving, right? Like, what is if we call ourselves a conservative, what are we conserving?
Right. Republican says
Just thinking that in different words. That's exactly it. I mean, and that's exactly having all of these different things is another way to divide us.
Yeah.
right.
Focusing on, yes, what is looking at I'm a nerd, looking at language. If we're conservatives, like, you know, what you just said, then what is the main focus that we all, regardless, can come together in agreement on? What are we conserving if we're conservatives?
Right.
Yep.
So let's look at this. Justice Hagedorn, right? His job is to go according to law and the Constitution, right? And he did that on one thing, and it did not favor conservatives or the Republicans.
Yep.
Automatically, you called him a rhino just for doing his job.
Yeah.
So if we don't go in the direction that somebody want to go, for example, this year, 2022, the Republican Party of Wisconsin made history. They had 4 African Americans run for a statewide race that they never had before. Opportunity to say we're not racist. Did they take that opportunity? No. Why? Because the 4 black candidates was not the candidate of their choice.
Yeah.
So
Well, and not even that. Think about what happened on the in Congress in DC, right? They brought up another nominee. Was his name Byron Daniels or something like that? Anyway, one of the first things out of their mouths was this would be the first black House Speaker. And it's like, and then of course he caveats it with, but we don't care because we're not racist. And it's like, but you just said it, you know,
Exactly.
like, why do we care about this color of his skin? I don't care if he's a purple rhinoceros. I just want him to have integrity, and I want him to run Congress the way Congress must be run, within the enumerated constitutional boundaries. You know, asking our representatives, what are you going to do? Should be a question we ask all of our representatives. What are you going to do to rein in the federal government back into its constitutionally restrained boundaries? What is your role in that? Because I guarantee you every single one of them are going to hem and haw, and they will not answer that question.
Oh, now, I'm glad you're being the devil advocate, but my point is this.
Yes.
Our job, those of us, and I use the kingdom now. I'm going to use kingdom language, okay? Yeah. So that way Amber don't attack me. So I'm going to use kingdom language, all right? As kingdom citizens, we don't care if you're gay.
Yeah.
It's not our job to judge a gay person.
Yeah.
Our job is to love them. We don't, but we will let you know we don't agree with that lifestyle, but we still gotta love. That's how they'll know we belong to God, right?
Yeah.
If you are in office and you are in office, I'm not gonna make a law for gays for their lifestyle, but I will make sure they're safe, just like I would make sure everybody else safe.
Yeah.
Because where one person's right ends, another, you know, where one person's right ends is where the other person's begins.
Yeah.
Everyone has this right, but you don't have the right to force yours on mine.
Right? Exactly.
Which is why our conversation shouldn't be, are you a gay conservative or not? And are you going to fight for the conservatives or the Democrats? It should be, what is the government going to do to get out of marriage altogether? Because that is not their authority, right? What is the government going to do to get out of adoption? Because that is not their authority. What is the government going to do to get out of jurisdictions that are not theirs to handle? Because then we wouldn't even be dealing with these labels of who's a gay conservative and who's a patriot conservative, because we would have the same concept. We are conserving the Constitution. We are conserving the restraints on government so that the government knows you can go this far and no further. That is what we should be talking about when we're saying we're conserving something, right?
No,
it does not.
It doesn't.
But the point is we are putting labels on. We are dividing people up on labels based on sexual proclivities, based on whether they're black or white, or whether they're Asian or Chinese or Indian, or whatever. We're woman or man, right? We're putting labels on people. In that, our point is if you are a conservative, your job is to conserve our Constitution, to preserve it, and to push our representatives to continually reduce government down to its normal enumerated size. That is what a conservative's job is. Right. We are not talking about whether or not you're gay and whether or not you have a place in the conservative movement. That is not the point. The point is if you're a conservative, you are fighting for something to conserve our Constitution.
Right. But you got Christian conservatives saying that gay cannot be conservative. So,
which is ridiculous. I don't care what you do in your bedroom. I care what you believe about our Constitution.
That's where we as humans collectively, because I'm sure each one of us sitting here have done it too. We as humans, biologically speaking, categorize and have done it biologically to say if something's safe or dangerous. If something is different, if it's unknown, there's a level of risk because it's unknown. But, and I'm going to say but here very intentionally, when we have raised our consciousness to understand what we're doing with this categorization, we no longer now need to categorize, because we've raised our consciousness, our thought process, and our mental capacity to a level where these categorizations no longer matter.
Yeah.
Right. But you got to
And that's
remember,
the thing.
Yeah.
but you got to remember, they are the ones who want to categorize everybody into something
Yeah.
different. And so
Yep.
you're sitting there and you're saying, you know, I said this in my message today. I'm not going to call you all the pronouns. I'll just call you by your last name
Yeah.
and just leave it.
Something I'm gonna play with based
Uh-oh.
on this conversation is love you too. um, when I notice someone trying to categorize, I'm going to mention that, you know, the whole biological thing, that this was something we did in caveman times for literal self-preservation, survival of the fittest kind of thing. Now, if we're supposed to be awake and enlightened, and yes, I'm using some of their words, I will not say woke, but if we're supposed to be awake and enlightened to, you know, all these things, we would not be considering categorizing people, because that's causing separation, and that's caveman level. We have risen, we have raised our energy, our frequency, our blah, 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 to a level where that shouldn't matter. And you're saying it doesn't matter, but then you're using it when it's to your advantage.
Yeah.
And you're right.
Okay.
And consciousness to actually address it.
And do you realize that that's the whole foundation of the evolutionary ideology is categorization of species, of people groups, of tribal. I mean, his whole thing. I've got to find the title, because everybody hears about the origin of species, right?
Right.
I will tell you that that's not the whole title, and most people who talk about the origin of species don't actually know the entire title. It says, on the origin of species by means of natural selection or the preservation of favored races in the struggle for life. That is the entire title of that book. All we hear about is the origin of species. So it sounds pretty innocuous, right? But that is the entire foundation of evolutionary theory, is based on categorizing and dividing us.
So that means there are Democrat conservatives.
If they love our Constitution and they want to keep it and preserve it, then yes, I would say.
Oh my God! And there's Republican liberals. But enough with the labeling. I'm sick of labeling. I'm getting dizzy with all this labeling stuff. But the point is that we allowed them to slice us up. And if you don't sing the song that they sing in the way they sing it, you are the bad guy. And I remember when we was running for lieutenant governor, people said, "Why are you so different?" I said, "Because the Republican Party, they're beating a bass drum and I'm beating a snare." You ever watch The Simpsons? When it first comes on, Lisa is at the band and she's at the band and they all playing this beautiful music and Lisa busts out in jazz.
That's the only part of the Simpsons I've ever seen.
Right. And so they kicks her out, right? They kick her out because she really jamming that jazz, right? And so the thing is, when you are kingdom citizens, you only going to do it the way the king told us to do it. So he tell us to love everybody. He didn't say like their ways, because all of us, according to 2 Chronicles 7:14, we all got some wicked ways, right? Because he said, if my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray, seek my face, and turn from their wicked. That means even though we're saved, even though we love God, we still have some wicked ways. So we have to turn from those wicked ways, not go get a pitchfork and say, I'm better than you and you the bad person. It's Jesus said they would know you by the measure of love that you show, right?
Yep.
So in the process, we allow people.
Even though I know you don't like the word, like saying the word Christians, there's that song, they'll know we're Christians by our love.
By our love, yep.
But no, he didn't say Christian. We said that.
No, I know, but I'm using that song as an example to convey the message you're conveying. Like, yes, we use the word Christian, but it's it's still conveying the message you're conveying.
Right. Okay, I'll let you have that one. You owe me a chocolate chip cookie on that one. So, but the thing about it is this: when we look at who we are with the Constitution, and now I'm talking about both Constitution,
Yeah.
the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the Word of God. Both is telling us how we're supposed to conduct ourselves. Both sets us up with moral boundaries, right? There's certain things that we can't do.
Yep.
And so when we look at it, nowhere in the Constitution says you're supposed to hate somebody that is not in agreement with what you're standing for. Right? Matter of fact, it's so funny that how I'm holding on to get out of jail free card. Wait a minute, what? See, Russ always mess me up when I'm trying to say something. Oh, we'll get you out of jail one day. Let you sit and think for a minute. And no calls to the house either. Just no. So when we look at when we're talking about the Constitution, because we brought up the Supreme Court race, right? We have to get somebody that is going to follow the Constitution, whether they rule for us or not.
Yeah.
If it doesn't line up in our favor because of the Constitution, then so be it.
Yeah.
But at least do the job of what the Supreme Court judge is supposed to do.
Yeah.
Not by feelings.
Yep.
But according to what the Constitution says.
Yeah.
And so that's what we need. That's what we need to look for. That's what we got to have. Because if we just go get somebody who's going to, how should I say, play on words and on feelings, you know, I'm sitting there like, okay, you was mad at Justice Hagedorn because he went according to the Constitution and it didn't favor what you wanted. And now all of a sudden he's a rhino and he's this. You hired him to go according to the Constitution. And that's what he did. So now you're upset with him because you thought you was going to get somebody that's going to not go along with the Constitution and just go along with your feelings and your emotions. We don't need that. We need somebody that is definitely going to respect and reverence the Constitution and govern by the Constitution and by the Constitution alone.
Yeah. Yeah, and one of my favorite candidate even said it. He said, you know, I trust our constitutional process. And the constitutional process says if we want to change laws, we make amendments to our Constitution. That's the process, right? And so if I'm going to make judgments or adjudicate law based on what I think or I believe what my opinion of the law should be, then I am not trusting the American people who have elected me to this office. And obviously this is on the state level. I'm not trusting my Constitution that says this is the law and this is the law you adjudicate, whether you like it or not. Right.
Right.
That mindset. And does that make me like itchy a little bit? Yeah, because we have people in this country who would make amendments to change our laws that would be very, very bad, right? They would be very, very bad for our country. But that's where we go back to the whole kingdom mindedness. If my people who are called by my name turn from their wicked ways and repent and pray, and basically we have to turn the nation back to God before we can trust that we're not going to screw up our Constitution, because our Constitution was created for a moral and virtuous people. It is inadequate for any other. So
whoever wrote this, I know who you are, but I ain't gonna say nothing. I want to eat with the Supreme Court justice too.
Same here.
That's all I'm gonna say.
I want to talk John Locke with him.
I will answer this one.
Yes, please do.
Okay, because I was gonna take it, but I'll let you have it.
I'll let you wrap it up on that one. So the reason this happens, the laws themselves, like the governing laws, not like the ones that they've made, the ones that you've listed, but like the rules of court, the rules of procedure, all of these things when it comes to the legal system, those aren't actually that bad. They're actually pretty good. But the problem is no one, including the judges, including the the lawyers and everything, they don't even sometimes know what those rules of court, those rules of procedure are, and most citizens don't know what they are, so no one's holding them accountable to do it the right way.
Yep.
And the same thing with the Constitution, because we have not been taught since civil rights and before maybe what our Constitution actually says. We can't hold anyone accountable to the powers that we delegated to them.
Yeah.
And if there's no checks and balances, everyone gets to run amok.
Yeah. Which is why they do make laws that contradict the Constitution, because nobody's holding their feet to the fire and saying, you can't do that. Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's why we have the Respect for Marriage Act, because they are not looking at the Constitution and saying, oh, our job isn't to deal with marriage. That's not a legal issue. That's an ecclesiastical one. We shouldn't be redefining. We shouldn't be redefining marriage. We shouldn't be making
why Chris Ann Hall has a job and has made a career of what she's doing. It's exactly why we are here today, because we didn't know what we should have known to be able to do better. When you don't know what you don't know, you can't do better.
Exactly.
And the system is not broken. We put the wrong people in charge of the system.
Exactly.
That's the problem we have. The system ain't broken. Yeah. If you put a crooked man in charge of the system, then the system gonna be crooked. We did not take time to do our homework on judges, didn't take time to do our homework on legislators, didn't take time to do our homework on aldermen, mayors, county exec. We did not understand what we were supposed to do. So we just played follow the leader, and we just voted who they told us to vote for, never doing any homework. And the sad part about it is this: before you let a doctor cut you, you at least go get a second opinion.
Yep.
But you don't get a second opinion on voting for these folks. You never sit down with them. You never talk to them. You understand that the prison guards is a business. It's been a business since they did the 13th Amendment.
Yeah.
So I mean, that is nothing new. Yeah. It is a business. It's been a business since the 13th Amendment. When they put the clause in the 13th Amendment, that's why 800,000 blacks went to jail right after the 13th Amendment. Why? Because it's been a business. It's always been a business. And most governors now prioritized it to make it a bigger business. I mean, that's the problem. We put people in office that had no morals, didn't understand the Constitution, didn't understand the Constitution, which is the word of God, didn't understand the United States Constitution. So they only go by what they know. And and because they know you don't know, just because, and they know you don't know, they says that's why knowledge will always govern ignorance.
Yep.
Because we did not do our due diligently and say, you know what? We have to do better. We got to do better. And you can't vote for somebody because of one case.
Yeah.
They gotta
know. Vote for somebody because of the color of their skin. You can't vote for somebody. You have to vote based on their character. You have to vote based on their track record. You have to vote. You have to know who you are voting for. And when I say no, I mean you need to be intimately aware of what this person is doing before they even get into that office. Do they understand their job responsibilities? Do they understand what their authority, what their borrowed authority actually is, right? Did they understand the Constitution? Can you ask them, what form does our American government take? And they will answer a constitutional representative republic, right? If they don't know the answers to those basic questions that 8th graders had to know before they graduated in the 1800s, right? Then we really need to be questioning what are we voting into office? We're voting more of the same status quo because that's the way it's always been done. I was at my last board meeting. I was questioning a decision that was coming down that was being voted on because it made no financial sense for our county. And what I got from the other county board members was This is the way we do this every year. This is a standard resolution that we vote on, and so this is the way it's always been done. That was their reasoning for it, and I said, I was one of 2 people who voted no on it. Doesn't make me popular, but I'm not going to vote on a resolution or a law or a policy if it goes against the freedoms of the American of the county in which I'm representing, and if it disadvantages us at the advantage of the federal government or the state government or anywhere else, because it is my county and these are my people and I'm going to represent them whether they like me or not.
Right. And the thing about it is, if you don't know what question to ask, send them to Sarah. Because
I prefer the Socratic method.
I guarantee you she'll make them shake in their boots and be like, did I answer that right? But they gotta know.
When you had that candidate on, did I not ask a lot of questions?
Oh yes, you asked, and so you know, and that's just like with one of the candidates. They kept saying, "I'm the only candidate that filed a lawsuit," and then up in Black River Falls, the question came: did you join a lawsuit or did you file a lawsuit? Because that's 2 different things. Oh, I joined the lawsuit. Okay, so we're not gonna play on words. We want to know. Here's the thing. Right now, we got school boards in Milwaukee, right? You ought to ask every candidate that's running for school board, what's your vision for my children? If they don't have a vision, bam, you automatic. I don't care if you're a good person, you out the box. Milwaukee is almost bankrupt, and that's because of leadership. The biggest city in the state. The biggest city in the state.
Yeah.
And it's almost bankrupt, not because they're not a good person, they're just bad leaders. And anybody you put a title as a leader doesn't mean they're leaders.
Yeah.
Anytime you put you see it in McDonald's all the time. They got titles as managers. They don't know how to manage. You see it everywhere. Somebody, you look at them and say, you the manager? Really? Wow. Because they don't have it in them. You can be a good person, but you look at education, you look at everything. The Bible says that we are not to judge anybody, right? But in that same chapter of Matthew 7, it says you'll know them by the fruit they bear. So you are a fruit inspector. So you're inspecting the fruit of your state representative. You're inspecting the fruit of those that's running for Supreme Court. You're looking at them and saying, your fruit don't line up with the Constitution. So you're a good person, but you're not the person for the job. And so these are the things that we have to really look at. These are the things that we have to really say, because we are at a place where if the wrong person gets in that seat, it's done. Move your sweet and sour self out of here.
Yeah, which is, and this is bringing it all the way back around to the beginning of our conversation. This is why I was so impressed by the 118th Congress before they got sworn in, that big fight to elect a House Speaker, because I had the sense that there was a shift in how things were getting done. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to see overnight everything's going to be fixed and, it's fine and dandy and we can trust these people. No, we cannot trust these people. They are not trustworthy. They have not proven themselves. They have not earned our trust. But there were 20 people in Congress who stood up and they refused to back down, and they put their careers at risk in order to represent the American people and to do the job that they were sent there to do and to honor the Constitution. And I honestly think we need to make a big deal about that and keep encouraging these people to do that, because they stood up when nobody else did, and that is not a popular thing nowadays. That is not a easy place to be. But they sent a very strong message, and because they held out, they were able to get these things. You don't like, I don't know how many of you realize what concessions they actually got from McCarthy. It is a huge move in the freedom shift direction, and that is a good thing for our country.
And you know what? People didn't know their history. They thought this was the first time.
Yep.
They didn't know history. They thinking, oh, what's going on? We can't. One lady,
unprecedented. Oh my gosh.
I know, and they think they think they're in charge. What is going on with them? They don't know what to do. Is they okay? Is you like, okay? Did you read history? This happened before.
Yep.
Did you read history?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And the thing about it, like you say, they don't understand the history where there was fist fights, stick fights, gun fights.
Yeah. Yeah, these people did not go in there sober minded. They were pretty hot headed.
Yeah.
So, question along these lines. So yes, this was a huge thing. And how do we continue to put the pressure on the people who are currently in these positions as we work to phase them out, obviously, because they weren't doing what we wanted them to do? How do we, the people, put the pressure on them to do what they're supposed to do and hold them accountable to it? How do we actually hold them accountable?
Besides that's easy. That's easy. That's easy.
They got you guys to like, so we can share with them.
Down a bit. Yeah.
What's this? They got 2 years.
Yeah.
Right? You blow their phone up for one, and you call the townhouse meeting. Stop letting them call the townhouse meeting. Yep. And the moment they don't come to the townhouse meeting, do me one favor. Create a pink slip and send it to them.
Yep.
Because the problem that we have is we don't understand what we possess. We possess the power.
Yeah.
And if they want a career out of this, I guarantee you call a town hall meeting, they gonna come. Because why? They want their career.
Yeah.
They're not there to serve the people. They want it as a career. So, okay, guess what? Now we're going to blow your phone up every week, and then we're going to call a townhouse meeting, and you need to explain to us. If you do not come, we will mail you a pink slip, because now we got 2 years to get rid of you.
Yeah. It's a little bit funny, but I would say send them an entire box of those, those Constitution Declaration of Independence.
Mm-hmm.
Send them a box of them. Send them an entire box of them with a note saying, I hope you remember this, and I hope you give it out to every one of your staff members, right? We have to continually remind them who they work for and what law they are under, right? And yeah, like you said, we're not going to get them all out in the next 2 years. Unfortunately, there are too many. There is still a very loud group of people who are fighting to stay status quo because they want what the chaos and the control and all of this stuff. But we work on the ground. We are grassroots. We are kingdom citizens. We work within our communities. We build up our communities. We start forming the communities around us that are safe havens for the Constitution, that are safe havens for Second Amendment rights, that are safe havens for our entire Bill of Rights, really, right? Mm-hmm. We start electing our sheriffs to be constitutional sheriffs. We start educating and informing the public, host book clubs, host educational forums. If you have to do just jam your Twitter feed if you're on Twitter or TikTok, use these tools that we have to get these messages out to the public and out to the people, and start saying this and build this message up. This is our duty. This is our responsibility as citizens of the greatest country in the world. We need to own its flaws, and we also need to own its successes. And our Constitution was a resounding success, and it can continue to be for another 235 years if we start really bringing that focus home, really start honing in. And hound our congressmen, hound our local officials, join. For goodness sake, come to the county board meetings and ask questions, because they say it's open for public comment. Anybody want to comment? The agendas are gotten out at least 24 hours in advance. Nobody comes to these things. So start joining. This is where we can take our best stand.
Based on what you just shared, and I'm strategically asking these questions.
Yes.
One, to have it in a recording so we can go back. In addition to months ago, when I had mentioned having a literal chart, a visual chart of all of the possible electable positions that include, and maybe it's interactive, digital, so you can click on it and get more information.
Yep.
And when those positions are elected, if it's in a spring election or a fall election,
Yeah.
So in addition to that chart, having the different counties who have accomplished breaking down some of the things that you just said, coming together, those actual freedom leaders, whether they're part of, their county, party or not, having these, I'm going to call it thought leaders, coming together and actually charting out, creating outlines of these different pieces and their purpose and what it's going to help propel, and actually creating this visual, because that's the other thing, is so many are visual learners, and this just seems like this big spider web of chaos because we don't know how to get from where we're at right now to what we should have been all along.
Yeah.
And the more we can map this out and show them the path, that's gonna help. All of our county groups and all of our local groups, getting out the dates for every village board meeting, every county board meeting, the school board meetings, having that in one post, in one email, in one newsletter, and sharing in every, email that goes out, if it's a monthly email, whatever, getting these things out so it's easy, making it easy for people. That's the
But one of the things that we're going to start probably in February is we're going to go back and we're going to get every alderman in Milwaukee, the mayor, county supervisors, and the county executive, and we're going to look at everything they voted for, how it affects you, and then we're going to grade them on it. And so when people start to see, oh, this person voted against me, because I didn't want that extra bill on my water bill, I didn't want that extra fee, on my taxes, or so when when you start grading people, or if they voted for something like, what's his name, Brian Style.
Steele, or Brian Steele, is that Steele?
Style out of Kenosha,
I know who you're talking about.
That took Paul Ryan's spot. And what's his name, Gallagher, who voted for what is it, the Right to Marriage Act, the Right to Something Act. So they voted for that crap. So that should have been a grade, should have been an F, and then explain to the people what they just did to you. And we don't have, that's what we need to do. And if they start to see that you're looking, and they start to see that you're posting what they've done, and then you tell us, because 39 Republicans voted for that. 2 out of
and you know what some of them said? They had regrets afterwards, because they were like, oh, we didn't realize this was in there. We didn't realize what this actually meant. They didn't even read it. They just said, oh, the Respect for Marriage Act. Okay, we'll do that because we respect marriage. They didn't read any of the content, and it wasn't that long either. It wasn't a big act. You could read it in 15 minutes or less. So the fact that they're voting on these things, and you remember when the Healthcare Act came in, and Nancy Pelosi who said, well, we need to vote on this and then we'll find out what's in it. No, that is not how you make decisions for an entire nation. You do not vote on something without knowing what's in it. Yes.
And that's the same thing Evers did. He took the money for Common Core without even seeing the curriculum.
Yep, exactly. So yeah, so we need to start really challenging these people and say, if you haven't read it, you vote no. Automatically, it should be a no
Right.
because you need to know what you are doing to your constituents because we are the ones who you are representing.
And we're not buying that you didn't read it. It's
Yeah.
your job to read it before
Exactly.
you vote. So
Exactly.
that
And if you can't read it in the amount of time, then you need to automatically vote no because it's too big.
right.
This
So
might be an ignorant question. Is it public record to know who funds people's campaigns and like
Yes.
lobbying and stuff?
Yep. It is public record. That's what the whole campaign finance thing is for. It is a pain in my butt as a treasurer, but it is for people to be able to go back in and say, oh, this is what they're spending their money on. This is who's giving them money. Yep.
The reason I ask is every election cycle, particularly like the big ones, I remember seeing people sharing, wouldn't it be something if elected officials had to wear NASCAR race, jackets with
Yep.
all of their, sponsors on them. And
Yep.
that really is something like, yes, we've joked about it, but what if we actually did that? What if we actually, kept in the limelight?
Yeah.
Who is funding these people? Like who
but you got to understand is a lot of it comes from shell, like shell corporations.
Yeah.
And
but that you can follow that back because it is public knowledge.
Yep.
You just have to know where to look for it.
I mean, I'm going to say this in code because this could actually get this video terminated. So, let's see how many presidents ago.
make sure it's a good code.
Right? Okay. So we're just going to use so the current president, the last one we liked.
Wait, was it the current legitimate president or no?
Just the one that's supposedly sitting in there. Okay, so there's the current one, the last one with the current one as the second. Okay, so the early 90s one.
Okay.
That's in between the dad and the son. You guys get it?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. The one whose wife then ran.
The one that didn't have sex.
Yes.
The one that can't define sex.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So that family.
Yes.
The organization that like supposedly like does good things for the world.
Yep.
So people have tracked for a long friggin' time that organization with all these other shells and all these other organizations. It's not that hard. If they've been able to do that with these big wigs that you could get disappeared for.
Yeah.
Disappeared. I'm trying. Like
I mean, that's one way of putting it.
With that particular one, I do tread very lightly because I don't want to get disappeared.
No.
But the thing about it is there's a lot we can do. Yeah. We just have to have a mind to do it. I mean, it's going to take work, and that's the problem that we have to have a mind to.
And we can't start at the top. We have to start at the bottom of it.
Yeah, we got to start locally and address their voting records on how, because local voting affects your life more than it does from the White House.
Right.
Oh my God. Yeah.
So we have to
go. We need to know if there's a dog catcher that gets elected in our community. We need to know exactly who that dog catcher candidate is.
And we need to know why he want to be, and we need to know why he want to be a dog catcher too. Did he get bit by a dog and he hate dogs, so now you're gonna just catch everybody's dog?
Exactly.
Yes, yeah. I am of very sound mind. I am not accident prone. Thank you for adding that because something that is not on me.
I concur. The same for me. I am of sound mind and I intend to die old in my bed someday.
Ditto on that. So But that's how we got to start. We got to start local. We got to know who we voting for. We got to know why we voting for them.
Yep.
Not because they're a good person, not because of the color of their skin, not because of their sex, but
Yep.
who they are as a person.
And who and what they represent.
Yes. And
Mhm.
who and what they represent. And if they're not representing you and they haven't, the biggest problem that we have is we're voting for people who says what they're going to do, but they never done it.
Yep, exactly.
They haven't even done it on a small scale. Well, I'm gonna look out for the youth. Okay, what have you done for youth on a small scale?
Yeah.
Or I'm going to fight for the rights of education. But what have you done on a small scale? Have you ever went to a school board meeting?
Yeah.
If you never went, how you gonna get elected and then say what you gonna do if you ain't never did it?
Yeah.
So we gotta get people in office that has already been doing, not going to do.
Well, and not only that, but we need people in office who understand the importance of counting the cost of a decision that they make, right? So we recently had our state assembly vote on a bill that would allow human remains to be used as fertilizer in our fields.
Right.
Both sides voted for this and it passed.
Yes.
Now, they weren't thinking about the farmers who are going to have to deal with this human remain fertilizer. They weren't thinking about the long-term consequences of human remains that have been washed with chemicals and all sorts of things to supposedly purify it before it goes into the fields. They weren't thinking about any of this. They were just thinking, we need to figure out what to do with our waste because we have a crisis. And so
we're filling up this land with cemeteries.
Right. And Pat Teston, I think he was the sponsor of that thing.
Yep. And so they're not thinking long. They don't have a long-term mindset. They do not have an eye for what are the consequences of this decision. And we need to be really careful before we make this decision. We need to have at least 72 hours before to read this and address it, and maybe bring people, experts to the table to explain this for us so that we understand exactly what we are getting the American people into, or what we are getting the Wisconsin people into, right? This is an ongoing crisis. We need people who have long-term vision, like our founding fathers. They were looking at the long term of our nation, wanting it to survive for longer than, the decline and fall of Rome. They wanted us to be a permanent nation. And so therefore they were looking, when we make this decision, when we write this down, what is it going to do for our future? And we are going to pledge our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor for this. We'd better know what we're doing.
And how much did they get paid to push it?
Nothing.
Right. Question. In your guys' opinions, I mean, this is a purely speculative opinion-based question.
Mm-hmm.
In your opinion, what is the shortest amount of time that, okay, hang on. What would you say is the most immediate decision that, or actually the shortest time frame a decision has needed to be made to impact something? Does that make sense? So like,
yeah. So like, we have to make this decision, and we have to make it now. And what decisions have been made in the past that have been
needed to be in a very short time frame? Yeah. What has been that standard time frame between when a decision's needed to be made and its outcome? And the reason I'm asking that is, why can't it be a week? You said 72 hours. You proposed that. Mm-hmm. Even 72 hours for the people to organize, to get the right information in front of people, to be able to propose the pros and cons of things. 72 hours, that's 3 days, right? I hate that.
And that was the kind of the concession that was made in the House, because they've been doing these overnight things where it's like midnight, it comes down, and then they have to vote on it the next day. So it was like basically the bare minimum you could give us is 3 days, right? Even looking at that, I would much prefer at least a week, if not longer. I mean, they deliberated for months on the 13th Amendment, and I still think they made the wrong decision, you know? So this is a one of those things where, I mean, I think the only time, well, okay, I don't even think war should be decided that quickly. Honestly, like that would be my biggest crisis.
That's what I was thinking you were gonna say.
Yeah, that'd be my biggest crisis I could think of. You know, when they bombed Pearl Harbor, I mean, you can have militias who are protecting the local communities while they're deciding whether or not they should actually go get involved in a world war, right? We our decisions, when you look at the Constitution and what the role of the government is, it is to protect and defend our rights and our God-given rights and freedoms, and to protect and defend our boundaries, our sovereign nation. And so any other decision that comes down from that, I mean, ultimately they shouldn't even be making those decisions. So there shouldn't be a federal public health who decides based on the WHO or based on these other three-letter agencies that have nothing to do with our actual nations and our local communities and their things. They should not be making decisions on a federal level for the entire nation. When they talk about the general welfare, when they're making a decision for the general welfare of the nation, they're talking about it is equally across the board going to benefit all of us, right? Welfare does not benefit all of us. In fact, it disadvantages many of us because we lose money to these people who are not working. And is there a place for people to be taken care of financially and transportation and all of those things? Yes, but that's the jurisdiction of the church and the charitable organizations, right? That's not the jurisdiction of the federal government. So there's really no decision that I can think of that should take less than a week, if even that. It should be
well thought out.
I'm gonna say at least 2 weeks, and I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
I think that first I need to read it and get an understanding of it myself.
Yeah.
Then I need to take it back to my district and have town hall meetings to explain to the people about it, to find out, because I'm representing them. Yeah. How do you want me to vote on this?
Yeah.
Because of the fact that I'm there to represent you.
Yeah.
And this decision is going to affect you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So here's what we propose to do. Tell me what you think.
Yeah.
I appreciate the ones who have at a minimum, and I'm on some email lists where I've been the recipient of this through the years. I appreciate the ones who, when something big comes down the pipeline, they email whoever's on their email list and lets them know. So that if they have an opinion, if they want to have a say, call now, kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though.
We have few of those nowadays.
They come down. I get those emails too, but those emails is one-sided.
Right.
It only say, or the other ones is going to do this against you. Okay, what? But they never say, this is what we propose.
Yeah.
They never say, this is what we think. Now, what do you think about it? And I think that when we look at government, you have to make those decisions. You have to let the people know, this is the decision I'm getting ready to make. It's a hard decision.
Yeah.
But this is how it's going to benefit you. Or if I vote against it, this is how it's going to protect you. Yeah. If I vote for it, this is how it's going to help you. But if we don't get to that place, then what we just did is says, Sarah, just go make the decisions. We don't care. Yeah. Don't call a town hall meeting. We trust you. And then when she make the decision, we like, did she lose her mind?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you think about it, how long did it take for the Revolutionary War to happen? And the Americans didn't even call for that war. They were doing their absolute best to avoid it, right? 10 years at least. 10 years at least to get to the point where they were like, there is no other option. They're invading our borders. They're taking our weapons. They are destroying our lives. they're living in our homes, right? And therefore we must fight back, right? But they were doing everything in their power for over 10 years to try to mitigate and prevent war. That should be, I mean, I'm not saying that Congress should take 10 years to make every single decision that they have to make, but they really honestly don't have that many decisions they need to make, because if you look at it, there's only between, depending on how you read it, 18 to 20 um authorities that they've been given, enumerated powers that they've been given, and responsibilities they've been given. It shouldn't take them full-time jobs. They shouldn't be living in Washington, D.C. They should be coming for their congressional meeting, deciding how are we doing on the Constitution? Are we still following its boundaries? If not, we need to make some adjustments and maybe an amendment or two, and then we need to go home, right?
Right.
Honestly.
Exactly.
So yeah.
Now, check this out. So we don't have a revolution war going on in all of our houses.
Mm-hmm.
We're about to tell everybody good night.
Yep.
Because it has been 2 hours and 15 minutes. So we're gonna start. As soon as I put you up, I'll let you say your final remark. This is the first one of the year of 2023, and we're gonna keep our words to the little ones, or I see them jumping on y'all head in a minute.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
So we're going to do this, and when we do this, your last words, thoughts, however long you want to do it.
My biggest takeaway for tonight is let's break down the components of what it looks like to learn what we need to know, because if we're expected to know better to do better, we need to know what we need to know. So breaking down the things that we need to know so that we can collectively take it back to our communities and start learning it together, start helping others learn it, and then mass producing it so we can share those pieces with others. That's my takeaway for tonight. And just keep on keeping on. Our movement is growing. We are taking this country back, and it takes calls like these. It takes people like us coming together weekly, on the regular, to learn and grow together. Bye.
Yep. So I ditto to what Amber said. Yeah, it's really, honestly, it is a bottom up grassroots efforts. We need to know what we don't know, and we need to learn it, because that's the best way that we shift our country towards freedom and not away from it. We've got, I usually end with a quote, and I know this is one I've said before, but this Constitution is intended for a moral and virtuous people, for a well-informed citizenry. It is inadequate to any other, and I believe John Adams, his words were, "It is wholly inadequate to any other." So we are to take this country not by force, not by chaos and crisis after crisis, but we are to take this country by reason and reflection. And that means that we have to be educated. I start my depth program on the 16th. I'm so excited. It's more education to point me in this direction, in the God-given mission and purpose that He's granted me. And I strongly urge you all to find your mission and purpose, really search out what you have been placed here to do, and be an active part of our country, our local communities. Raise your families, raise up strong leaders who are going to look at this world and see what is wrong in it, and turn it towards the right, by living virtuous lives, by influencing and impacting the people and the communities around them. So yeah, that's all I have to add.
Well, I'm going to add. No, let me stop. But y'all know I got a clown. I won't be me if I didn't clown.
Yeah.
But I am serious that what you guys said. We have to do it. We have to do it from the standpoint of the next generation. and we created the mess, and we got to clean it up. And I remember when my friends would come to the house, and we would play in the room, and they'll mess up the room, and they'd be like, "Well, we got to go." You're not leaving until this room is together. And so we have to take to God. Don't take me out of here until we clean this mess up. And so we have to start on a local level by how? By educating, empowering people, encouraging people. Don't look at what it is, but look at what it can be. And when you do that, then you have some hope. Then you know, Milwaukee is a beautiful city. It shouldn't even be in the condition that it is. It shouldn't be being bankrupt. The education system shouldn't be sucky. We shouldn't have a lot of people from out of state owning all the houses in the city. We supposed to be a booming city, and that's what I see, a booming city. And so I just put up on their kingformayor.net. You can go to the website. Where campaign starts now. This is January. We have 12 and a half months to get everybody where we need to be to make Milwaukee a better place. Go on the website, volunteer, make a donation, whatever you want to do to help us continue. And we're going to always empower people. We're looking at going to Madison to do the Kingdom Constitutional Summit. And we're looking to go to Westby with J-Rod to do the Constitutional Summit. And I will be making a phone call this week for Manitowoc to do the Constitutional Summit. So we're going to be traveling, teaching, and empowering people because
I'm excited.
More.
I know, right? That's what it's about, though. That's literally what it's about. Because you can't change nothing unless we change the minds of the people.
Yep.
And
and I'm a little excited because the Westby one we could actually drive to and not have to, you know, stay right close.
Yeah.
But I gotta stay a night somewhere.
You could come all the way up here and stay at my, you know, ministry's motel, and then we could carpool down.
Oh, that's right. You do got a ministry motel.
Yeah.
Are you gonna leave the light on?
Well, there's a lighthouse. See here. I don't know if you can see it.
Oh,
there's a lighthouse.
Nice.
Okay, so yes, we could come to the ministry hotel then. I forgot about you got that.
It's a small mom and pop kind of place, so humble but clean and safe and good, and not like the sketchy ones you were threatening to put us up in down there. Which, thank you for not.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that immensely.
Hey, I gave y'all the palace.
Oh yeah, I agree. I agree.
As moms, we greatly appreciated what you did for us. You did treat us very well, and we appreciate it.
Yes.
Oh, no problem. But yeah, so the constitutional, the Kingdom Constitutional Summit will be traveling because our heart desire is just to empower the people.
Oh, yes.
To make sure that they have a better chance. And those that are in Milwaukee, look up those that are running for school board. Look up those that's running for alderman. If they don't even live in your district, you shouldn't even support them right then and there because they're not there for you. They're there for the money. Yep. Look at the Supreme Court race because it is definitely
it's going to have an impact.
It's going to have a very big impact on your life. And to those that, if you don't get in the special election for alderman, but you really want to run, you got 12 months. Call me. Let's hook up. We'll help you get prepared to run for alderman in 2024 because we have to make a difference in Milwaukee. And we cannot, how should I say it? Einstein said it this way. You cannot use the same system that caused the problem to fix the problem. So we have to do something different. And so I'm excited about it. I don't know what to say. I'm just full right now. All I know is we're about to do some great things.
Yep.
If you're in the Milwaukee area, we are doing the retour starting the 23rd. We will be at Atkinson Library on 19th and Atkinson, where Atkinson and Capitol meet. We'll be at that library. That's the first library. Come out, share. And it's not what I'm going to do. It is what can we do to better Milwaukee. It's not about me. It's about us.
Yep.
Together we can make it happen. So come on out, share how we can do. I got some ideas on what we can do to strengthen families. I got some ideas on how to rebuild our community. And I got a way we could do it thanks to being a PMA.
The
That,
ministry.
yes,
You're like leveled up. You're
Woo!
not just a human. You are a ministry.
a ministry to take it to another level and be a blessing. So we're excited.
Yeah.
It's a lot of great things getting ready to happen in 2023. And Mary and Martha, or wait a minute, they got new names now.
Abigail.
So Abigail and who?
Mercy.
Mercy.
Okay, Abigail and Mercy. I'm gonna try to remember that by the next show.
I'll put it in my name thing.
Okay, and then don't forget on Tuesday we have Dr. J. He's a holistic doctor from Green Bay. Will be on the show. Tune in, ask your questions in the morning, visit with the doctor, and just tell him what's going on, and he will be able to help you out. So with that, we're going to go so these ladies don't get beat up by their children, because they probably in the back and saying, you said we.
Yeah. Yep. I'm going to have to let them stay up a little bit later now because 9 o'clock's bedtime just to get my promised snuggle time in.
All right. Well, we're gonna say to everybody, we love y'all. God bless you.
Yep.
And we will see y'all next time.